I will share my screen. So can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Morning, Ajahn and classmates. This is Vicky. Let me start my presentation. Health literacy in hypertensive patients from the perspective of positivism. There are 4 parts of my presentation: introduction, positivism, and positivism and health literacy. The last one is conclusion. And hypertension is a global public health issue. It is the major factors for a wide range of serious conditions. The number of adults with high blood pressure has increased from 1975 to 2015. More than 40% of persons have hypertension. And hypertension is one of the leading causes of death and disability globally. In China, the prevalence of hypertension maintained an upward trend from 1958 to 2015. In 2017, 2.54 million individuals died of hypertension. And several days ago, the newest data from news reports showed that there are already more than 3 million hypertensive patients in China. Hypertension can be controlled by changing lifestyle, and medication adherence also plays key role to control blood pressure. Therefore, good self-management is essential for hypertensive patients. And health literacy is linked to the literacy and entails people's knowledge, motivation, and competencies to assess, understand, appraise, and apply health information in order to make judgment and take decision in everyday life concerning healthcare, disease prevention, and health promotion to maintain or improve quality of life during the life course. It is an important factor to maintain and improve health and also considered to be a crucial component in the self-management of illness. Adequate health literacy is a contributing factor to regular medication, better blood pressure control, and better perceived quality of life in hypertensive patients. Limited health literacy is an inevitable barrier to healthcare delivery and effective patient care. However, health literacy among Chinese population is still at a low level and varies in different regions and groups. Among hypertensive patients, low health literacy is a widespread phenomenon. However, the research on the development of instruments, high quality intervention, and evaluation are still insufficient. Therefore, in this research through positivism paradigm, the invisible and subjective health literacy can be shifted to the observable and objective term by quantification that can be verified and understood better. For positivism paradigm, it's referred to as the received view, use scientific method to develop general abstract laws describing and predict patterns in the physical world. Positivism is a philosophy that has a focus on the discovery of facts or regularities that are observable and measurable. The foundation of observable is commitment to an implicit epistemology, which holds the knowledge stems from sense data input. The object that can be observed should be defined as terms belonging to observation language. And on the positivist interpretation of science, theoretical terms have meaning only through their connection with the observable. For the perspective of positivism, all knowledge must be verified through scientific methods, and theory is established deductively through formal statistical testing of hypotheses. Deductive logic is used to develop observational statements that can be verified. The goal of positivist research is thus control and prediction. In a word, the major tenet of positivism is that information is meaningful only if obtained through scientifically verifiable observation and the use of the scientific method and formal logic through the process of observation. Hypothesis creation and experimentation allows verifiable conclusion about reality to be made. To explore health literacy in hypertensive patients, in positivism paradigm, the term of health literacy should be defined with observation language. The same concept with different definitions means different observation. Based on the definition, there are many dimensions of health literacy. Based on the definition, from the perspective of positivism, the objective approach should be applied to assess all dimensions of health literacy. However, the most commonly used instrument merely assess some dimensions of health literacy based on the definition in this study, without integrated view of health literacy. Furthermore, they are not tailored for hypertensive patients. Thus, the assessment may be inappropriate and incomplete, which may impact on verifiable conclusion making. The positivist approach applied in this study to observe and measure health literacy in hypertensive patients should develop hypertension-specific health literacy measurement and with acceptable reliability by verification. This measurement taken by different observers or at different time will produce the same result. Finally, the objective generalization can be achieved. And as healthcare providers, we all need to find and understand hypertensive patients' health literacy and strive to improve their self-management to prevent health problems and protect their health. One hypothesis of health literacy within the perspective of positivism is that health education concerning knowledge, healthcare, disease prevention, health promotion, and so forth may be beneficial to improve health literacy. And for hypertensive patients, it can be stated that their health literacy can be improved through hypertension-specific health education, in particular for hypertensive patients with low health literacy and uncontrolled blood pressure. Hypertension-specific health literacy measurement can be used to assess the patient's health literacy before and after health education, which help us to have a comprehensive view of their health literacy and observe their change. And based on the assessment before health education, the problem can be identified and observed. Thus, the materials of health education can be tailored to address the problems. And after the health education, it can demonstrate the effect of health education on health literacy. By hypertension-specific health education, if the problem observed can be solved and or alleviated, and hypertensive patient health literacy is increased, thus the hypothesis is verified and the conclusion can be deductive made. And the relationship between health education and health literacy can provide not only the explanation to improvement of health literacy, but also the prediction that health education can improve health literacy in hypertensive patients. Furthermore, in other diseases, for generalization, which is consistent with positivist goal. In summary, the positivist approach can lead to significant advances in field. including understanding of health literacy and the development of methods to assess the effectiveness of the field's intervention in hypertensive patients. However, only positivism may be insufficient to understand health literacy, which can be affected by patients' experience. So a combination of positivism and other philosophical perspectives, such as interpretivism, can be used to have a fuller and more meaningful understanding of health literacy in the future. That's all. Thank you for your attention.
All right, 10 minutes on time. Any comments, any ideas from the student? Come on, just one. No? It's quiet, huh? So I am going to give, if there is no comments, you can stop share your slide.
Yes.
Actually, this class is not methodology class. Okay, we have to agree upon this. And your exercise on this paper is how to understand and apply the philosophy to understand the phenomena, not try to get the phenomena, okay? Not try to measure the phenomena, not try to assess, not try to reach the phenomena, but you have to have your philosophy, especially look at the main tenets to understand the phenomena. So I'm going to give some comments on Vicky for your presentation. The first part is about the phenomenology, right?
Yes.
Your phenomenology is the hypertension. You say health literacy in hypertensive patients.
Yes.
So you start to address with hypertension and how the prevalence and incidence of hypertension globally and particularly in your country. And then what I would like to know is much more is about health literacy. You link health literacy with the management, right? I see it here.
Yes.
The good self-management is essential for hypertensive patients and part of the health literacy. So I just, and then you touch the health literacy, only the definitions. If you want to know if I would like to know about this, I would like to see the health literacy of hypertensive patients as your phenomena. You might need to show me how the patient with hypertension have the health literacy, right? How health literacy of this population. Because it seems to me that you have to put that part by part. Hypertensive patients and then health literacy. But your phenomena is what? Health literacy of hypertensive patients. So I want to see how these people have health literacy. And before that, I would like to know the component of the health literacy first. What the health literacy look like, right? You said health literacy is what? Health literacy of your is like a crucial component in the self-management. And it's not enough information to look at the health literacy under this phenomena, okay? And the health literacy of the hypertensive patients, what is like? I'm in psych nurse, I have no idea here. This is the first part, it's unclear and not enough information. And the phenomena is not just touch what phenomena that been chosen. All right, any questions on this part? Is that clear what I try to explain to you? All right. Next part is about the philosophy. Okay. The philosophy here, you said that positivism, and you touch on Auguste Comte, right? The world is real, and the reality is driven by immutable natural laws and mechanisms. To talk about the objectivity, observe, and also some that touch. But there will be more than that. When I look at your reference, you might need to touch the reference that specific on positivism, rather than talking about the Lincoln and Cuba, which just like the naturalistic inquiry. When we look at this reference, we can see how students struggle with the main tenets, right? So your main tenet is just some, but not cover all. And because of the first part is unclear, the second part is just some of some tenets. When you try to apply the positivism on the health literacy, it seems to me that you try to explore. See, in your slide you say to explore health literacy. But for this paper, you have to understand the health literacy through positivism lens. That's the point. So when you try to apply, you have to say something like health literacy among hypertensive patients is look like what? And then it can be observed, can be verified, and you have to touch the reality of this. Okay, not just try to explore. Okay, you get my point?
Yes.
All right. Yes. Dr. Varudi, would you like to add some comments on this? We have like 2 or 3 minutes left.
Vicky.
Yeah.
I would like to inform you that this paper is not a research paper. It's a philosophical paper, okay?
Okay.
So we need the student to really understand the paradigm that they choose. And then you have chosen positivist paradigm. Okay, then I would like to see more. What are the main tenets of positivism that you present in the paper? I try to read your paper, but I'm not so clear. You put the term singularity there, and I expect that if you talk about singularity and you talk about something about verification of knowledge or anything like that, or maybe something about certainty in science, to daily neutral facts, something like that. I would like to see more about this main tenets that you can use, and then you use this main tenets to explain the phenomenon of health literacy in hypertensive patients. I agree with Dr. Hansa that your phenomenon and interest still not clear to me. You should have mentioned about what are the components of health literacy in hypertensive patients. What are the factors related to health literacy in hypertensive patients, and what kind of strategies that have been done to enhance health literacy in hypertensive patients? I believe that there have been many studies on this. Maybe you have not done enough literature review on this. So that's why you could not provide the good picture of your phenomenon interest, okay? So you have to be clear on the main tenets. Then you're gonna use, for example, if you want to explain singularity about health literacy in hypertensive patients, what should you explain? You are not going to, it's not the research paper that you are going to talk about, you are going to develop instrument. No. This is not the objective for the class. Okay. The objective of the class is application of the main tenets to explain your phenomenon interest. Okay. Why don't you go back to think? If, for example, if you are going to use if you want to use the singularity, what is singularity about? What is singularity about health literacy in hypertensive patients? How you are going to explain this? Okay, you get my point?
Yeah.
Okay, singularity linked to what? Okay, so I think the problem with the student, I think it's gonna be many students from now on, you know, they gonna touch more on the research, you know, part, which is not the objective of the class. Okay, you got my point.
Yes.
Okay, and then your maintenance of positive is not clear to me. So if you want to talk about like singularity that link to the theory neutral facts, then you might want to think about if you want to anything like if you want to verify the knowledge using like the theory, single theory, right? Because positivists believe in only single truth or only singularity. So you should explain something like that. Okay. Okay, so I hope that you got it, that your paper is particularly on the third part you didn't deal with the application of the using the positivist lens to explain the health literacy in hypertensive patients. Okay, that's just my comments for Vicky.
Okay, thank you,
Thank you,
Dr. Baruni. Yes. Is there any comment from other Ajahn? Okay, I think this is a good start. We start with the second presenter. Okay, you can share screen now.
Okay, I will share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good morning, Ajahn. Good morning, classmates. I'm Stanley. And my topic today is about the depression among patients with coronary heart disease. I will explain it from the perspective of positivism. So first, I'd like to give a brief introduction about my phenomenon of interest. As well as coronary heart disease is the leading cause of death worldwide, and patients with CHD are at high risk for mental health disorders, such as depression and anxiety. Depression is associated with nearly 2 times risk for developing CHD. And if the two, the depression and CHD combine together, they will actively affect the course and outcome of both the conditions, resulting in increased overall burden of disease. So in this area, understanding of depression in person at risk for CHD and to assess the depression, to evaluate the effectiveness of intervention, as well as to explore the mechanism between depression and CHD is quite important in this area. And in recent years, there are some phenomenology and lived experience explored to address these issues that provide opportunity for understanding the depression and evaluate the outcomes from the patient's perspective. However, many stakeholders don't believe about this the result because they think it's scientifically unreliable and unreferable. So establish objective cause and effective relationships and scientifically verifiable outcome is quite important. And from the philosophy of positivism, they hold the perspective that value outcomes are objective and scientifically verifiable. So this paradigm has made important contributions to the field of mental health in CHD patients. Next, I will briefly introduce the main principle of positivism. And this paradigm was developed in the middle 19th century by the French philosopher Auguste Comte, and it holds the view that only ultimately all knowledge is scientific knowledge, and such knowledge can only come from positive affirmation of theories through strict scientific methods. On the ontologic perspective, the positivism believes that there is a definite reality existed in the external world, and this reality can be proved. And knowledge in the positivism tradition is derived from sense experience, like the 5 senses, Yeah. And information is meaningful only if evident through scientifically verifiable observation. And I also think the study of reality should be value-free or objective. The positivism also holds the opinion that the reality is discoverable and verifiable through observation, hypothesis, and experimental testing by using deductive reasoning. So in the area of depression among CHD patients, the first issues is about how to distinguish depression from other types of mental status. So from the perspective of positivism, they think that there is a definite reality outside the world. So and so under this belief, they hold the opinion that the healthcare providers should act as objective and value-free experts when they give the definition to depression. So based on this belief, they did a lot of work to distinguish the depression. They designed the classification system like the DSM-5 and the ICD. They use this classification system. They can distinguish the depression. Yeah, and also they find some biomarkers to identify the depression. So this reflects the perspective of positivism. They give the meaning to the depression. And the second is examination of the level of depression. This is also a quite issue in this area. And from the perspective of positivism, they think that the patient is viewed in terms of objectively measured actions that can be verified in reality. So the objective measurements choose to assess the depression are behaviors or events that are believed to be experienced by all patients, but in different degree of different level. So under this belief, the scientists that developed a lot of instruments to evaluate the level of depression. That include the self-rating depression scales. They use the 5-point link type scale to assess the level of depression, and also the Hampton rating scales. They use this scale to provide an indication of depression. And through the scores they get from the scale, they can verify and they can verify the level of the depression. And they'll also use these scales to evaluate the many intervention program. And another issue in this area is about the positivism, the belief that the reality is discoverable through hypothesis and experimental testing by using deductive reasoning. So in this area, an issue is about how to find the mechanism between depression and CHD. And based on this perspective of positivism, the first they give a hypothesis that there might be some relationship between depression and CHD. Then after that, they test some biological process and the pathophysiology of depression. They find that the patients with depression, they might increase in heart rate, blood pressure, and also increase in myocardial oxygen demand and decrease in myocardial oxygen supply. And all of these are linked to the risk factor of CHD. So through the perspective of positivity, they use this way to find the law behind the phenomena. So they can find the relationship, the mechanism between CHD and the depression. So I think this is a way they use the positive perspective reflect this perspective. And summary, from the positivity perspective, the contributor are not to the phenomena of depression among CHD patients through understanding the meaning of depression and assessment the level of depression, also evaluate the effectiveness of intervention program and find the mechanism between depression and CHD. So it can provide a more scientific way to understand the meaning of this phenomena. However, many people criticize for its limitation to address the emic and the interpretive dimension of knowledge. So they think that in the future, maybe we can renew the depression among CHD from different lens in the future. So that's my presentation. Thank you very much.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that you might gain some understanding when I give a comments on the first one. Do you have any idea of your paper? I give you a chance for 1 or 2 minutes on that. You can stop sharing now. Sunny.
Okay. I'll stop sharing. Yeah.
Yes. What have you learned from Dr. Bonnie and my comments for the first one? What would you like to say about this paper?
I think it's my paper is it's have some something similar to wiki. Yeah. So first I need to, you have already mentioned that we need to link the depression with CHD together. Not this is the phenomenon, not only depression. So and at first I just give the definition of depression and also how to evaluate the level of depression. But what's the link between depression and CHD? I need to think it's in a whole picture. I think that this is the first point.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
For the first part.
Yeah.
For the first part is not enough information on the phenomena, the depression among patients with CHD. You have mentioned some in the application, right? You're talking about the diagnosis, you're talking about the assessment, and you touch some of the interventions. But that part need to be very clear on the first part, the phenomena of interest. Okay, and also I would like to see the causes of the depression in these particular populations, and also the consequences, the factors related to this. If you add plus the diagnosis, maybe, or the assessment, the measurement that already been used in these populations, that is the very clear part of the first one. Okay, that's good. So for the second one, what have you learned?
The second one, I need to present the tenets, the main tenets first, and the tenets should come from that. The reference should be. I need to find the original, the reference. Yeah, maybe the tenet just come from some not the original philosophy.
Right, Annie. You've been mentioned so many terms here. You have the social positivism, you have critical positivism, and you have logical positivisms. Be careful on this. Okay, this is the form of positivism, and if you are going to work on this paper, you may need to choose one and make sure that you understand very clear on that the main tenets under this, even though they are from the same umbrella, the big umbrella as positivism, but the forms make the main tenets a bit different from each other, right? For social positivism might be different from the critical positivisms and also the logical positivism. But keep in mind that this form might link with methodology. not with the main idea of philosophy. Be careful on that, because some literature already separate or divided the type of paradigm under the methodology approach. So you be careful if you're gonna choose each one to drive the main tenets. And also again, the Hesse 1980, what is about? Okay, they talk about the positivism in particular or not. And I think that you touched so many main tenets here, that they believe that there is a really exists in the external world that is explained by all people. The reality can be verified, observation and measurement, something like this. This is good, okay? But if you can bring this to apply for the use the main thesis to apply the phenomena, it will be more clear on that. Once again, the same as the first one, I would like to see more on applications and clear about tenets in each and clear about the phenomena you select. Okay. Dr. Varuni, please.
Sunny,
Hi, Professor. Yeah.
yeah, I think you touched some of the main tenets, but need to have more clear explanation on that. Okay, you touched on that, but you didn't provide a clear explanation on the tenets on that. Okay, that's one thing. Another thing, in your third part, you just try to use the reference that they use positivist paradigm in studying depression, right? Which is, if I were you, I would put it in the first part, in your phenomenon. What is already known about that should be the depression only in CHD. Nah? So I'm not so sure that when you put it here, it's really the depression in CHD or not. In your paper, seems to me that not really particular to CHD. Okay, right? So that's the point, because for the third part, we want you to really to explain that if you believe that reality exists in the external world and reality can be verified, then how you are going to use this to explain the depression among coronary heart disease. Okay, that's the way, right? But in the third part, the same as Vicky, that you try to use the previous studies and then explain how the previous studies use positivist. That's not the case for the paper. You got my point now?
Yeah.
Okay, right? That's other thing that have been known. If I were you, I would put it in the first part. We need, in the third part application, we need your thinking. Third part is the most difficult part, because we want students to be able to use the main tenets that they explain in the second part to explain depression among patients with CHD. Get my point? Okay. Okay, just my comments on this.
Yeah, I give you some example for other students to learn, because we have 1 minute left.
Dr. Hamza,
Yes.
I would suggest that we wait until the third student.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, we
for
have
the
one
first
more.
list,
Sorry,
and then maybe we can let the student choose. If they finish 3 of them, let them choose. Let them explain by themselves. Better
Okay.
than we explain them. Okay.
All right.
Let's finish with the third one, and then let's see that if they have listened to our comments, what should they improve themselves?
Okay, that's good. That's good. Thank you, Dr. Varuni. We still have 1 student left for the positivism, right? We have only 3 on the roll. Okay, next presenter, please.
Okay. Good morning, adults and classmates. This is Ellie, and I'm going to talk about the positivism and the phenomenon of the Tai Chi to the patient with mild cognitive impairment. So I'm going to talk about from these three aspects. This first one, let's talk about the current and relevant literature. So there are a large amount of population were suffering from the dementia, with increasing the 7.7 million per year, and their figure are going to double nearly every 2 decades. So the number is climbing up every year. So what is the mild MCI, the mild cognitive impairment? That is considered to be the intermediate stage of the cognitive deterioration from formal connection of full developed symptoms of dementia. The cognitive enhancing drug may have side effect on the gastrointestinal disorder. The clinical trials of the medicines for the treatment of the dementia have shown no benefits effort on delaying the cognitive progressing. So it is worth nothing that the non-pharmacological intervention has been recognizing as the main method for both treatment and prevention for the cognitive impairment. Written in the traditional Chinese philosopher of Taoism and invented by Chinese people at least 3,000 years ago, Tai Chi is considered as the appropriate exercise for elderly person to preserve their cognitive health and functional ability. So there were 4 types of Tai Chi, and those Tai Chi style are sharing the same elements like the breathing skill, the muscle stretching, body awareness, mind, and coordination. In fact, Tai Chi contains distinguished property such as the skill, real chaining, hardness and the softness, loose and the vibration, and jumping at multiple directions. So to sum up, there are many researchers demonstrate that Tai Chi may be safe, effective in improving the physical and mental health of the patient with MCI. So the next part, let's talk about the main tenets of the positivism. So there were actually, I concluded there were 5 main tenets or principles for the this paradigm, including the scientism, realism, empiricism, objectivism, and the verification. Yes, there are actually many tenets about this paradigm, but I choose 5 of them are the main tenets. So the first one is the scientism. It's the regulation control the natural science, which is the unique way by using the valid explanation and the well knowledge. In the philosopher of science, the scientism means the extreme expression of the logical positivism, or the knowledge can be only measured or confirmative. Yeah, that's a very important. The next is the realism. That means the reality can be known, so everything can be known. Realism aims to give us a literature true story of what the world is like, and that acceptance of the falsification. Realism allows non-science source of knowledge depending on whether reality is understood to be independent. In the realism of science, the science is the real world, and at the same time, it is independent of what we might think to be. So it is independent. The third one is the empiricism. It's the truth consists only of that which can be observed and experienced. The foundation is to commitment to an empiricist eschatology, which holds that knowledge seen from sense data, inputs such as our ability to absorb patterns. An unaided act of perception is that an observation. Those who observe at something or another case should have the concept before the unobservable or deny any form of real existence. So the last one, is the verifiability principle. Is stay with the meaningful only if the proven true or false through the mean of experience. The verification can be logical possible, whether whatever be the case regarding its practical feasibility. Objective existence must has a clear verified meaning. So it's something about the maintenance. The last one is the objectivism. Insists that the reality must can be objectively determined. The idea that human knowledge and value are objective, they exist and they're determined by the nature of reality to be discovered by one's mind and are not created for the thoughts of the people. One can attain objective knowledge from perception by forming or concept and inductive logic. So after knowing the main techniques, so let's combine them together and think about the critical discussion. And here I would like to mention a little bit that is the knowledge can be never proven. There will only be refuted or falsified, and one cannot verify the counter example. Maybe because there is no, so not found, and that cannot be proven. That's the thinking about this paradigm. The phenomenon only considered true for a time. Subsequent cases, that means it can emerge when the invalidated existing true claim there is no consistent law. Everything is changed. No technique can be completely unbiased. The influence by the empiricism, subjective consciousness can become an influence factor in the observation of the objective world. The instrument bias should have to be concerned. Research might reduce which are different to how people would behave in the real world. So the last thing is the important part, that is the application. The law of the human being can be observed and measured. So as human practice, Tai Chi effectiveness can be observed and measured with tools. Observation and management reflect the law of the human behavior. To grasp the observability of positivism is reflecting the effort of the Tai Chi on people with a mild cognitive impairment. So the second one is the personal belief is able to affect the observation and evidence collection. The objectivism insists that the reality can be objectively determined while individuals' thoughts are threat. So in testing the effectiveness of the Tai Chi, the process of the interpretation would not be influenced by the personal belief. So that is about the positivism. And after discussing the characteristic of Tai Chi movement and the principle of its impact on the human body, we can clarify the principle behind the phenomenon. So further, to get the root of Tai Chi impact on the people and the society phenomena. So the Tai Chi effect can be statistically calculated. When using the math and number, the meaning of the statistic represents the effort of the Tai Chi can be known. So, and the third one is the aggregate. The statistic of the individual behavior can be used to infer the whole population and discover the social law. The empiricism means the truth consists only of which can be observed and explained. That means when the sample, when detected to show the effort of the Tai Chi according to the statistic inference, the conclusion about the Tai Chi's function can be made. So the next one is the researcher can be valued natural in their research. Objectivism means that human knowledge and value are determined. The nature of the reality may be biased by element by a well-designing quantitative research. A double-blind design will bring a neutral view to the phenomenon of Tai Chi to the people with MCI. So that is all my presentation. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
Ellie,
Yes.
yes, you can stop sharing now. Is there any
Yeah.
comments from the team, from student? No? So for this one, is Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Tai Chi to the patient with MCI.
Yes.
And Ellie address the MCI here.
Yeah.
Is the MCI link with the dementia, right? You link with the dementia and you try to make a case of the statistics to back up that is important. But I would like to see more how the link with this dementia and the population here with MCI, we might be if it will be more clear on that and why it's occur and what the treatment. And for more understanding, I would like to see the Tai Chi itself. See, you show some. This is good. You show some of the Tai Chi definitions, the type, and also the effectiveness. And you add up some of the Tai Chi training improves general cognitive performance, memory, attention, language, and executive functions in older adults.
Yeah.
It might be good if you can make the number under the statistic that can measure, you know, because you are working on the positivist, right? You may need to show some numbers, some statistic to show about this phenomena to be clear when you apply in the third part. You show that it can be calculated, right? It can be measured because once is under the practice like the complementary and alternative practice here, it will be a question. Is can measurable or not, or is can be calculated or can be measured of this improvement you claim cognitive performance, memory, attention, language, executive functions. Are these really have the statistic to back up, right?
Yes.
Because you are working on positivist, but if you are working on other paradigm, you don't need to have right. So you have to have enough information. I see your application there because you mentioned this. So for this phenomena, you have to show related to what you are going to apply in the third part. Okay.
So that means I give more details about the Tai Chi's works related to the positivism.
Yeah, I think that it might be good for put some ideas and from some information that already exists by scientific knowledge in there. Otherwise, if you claim that see Tai Chi can measurable the effectiveness, there might have some questions. Is that can be measured or not? You see my point? Yeah. And this is the first part. Okay. And also the second part, the main tenets.
Yeah.
You touch so many tenets and give some explanation. I think that this is the good way to try to understand what main tenet is supposed to be. And you have the term that been used in class from the paper. And you might go back and take a look that you reference the right one, the one that focus mainly in positivist. Okay, this is just a check up. And also you touch the term falsification. You might need to explain what the falsification means. You might need to add up like if whatever you have here, you might need to define to be very clear because it's gonna help you to apply in the third part. Okay, like when you mention about the term on the scientism, you have the term here like knowledge can be logical positivisms. Okay, you have the term under realism as the falsification. What is really mean by falsification? I know that you know because when you apply, you can touch on that. And also when you talk about the truth under the empiricisms, you talk about the observable.
Yeah.
You may need to clarify a bit about observable, scientific observation. verifiability, like from polyphony, that's good. But you might need to give like a bit details under the term that you case up as like a feasibility, objective, existent, have a clear, verifiable meaning. I think if you're more clear on that and give some details, that's going to be a very perfect one. And you term the objectivism, okay?
Yeah.
Objectivism is not give more definition and more like a characteristic on that, and it can touch the main tenets. And when you have the critically discussed as the application here, I can see that you explain the nature. But if you have more on the first part, it can help you to explain even more clearly. But I can see your work here that you explain, okay?
Yeah.
You explain Tai Chi's under that can be observed. You see that? The explanation is the nature of the phenomena that can be explained under the positivist point of view. Not try to look for like a measure, but you look at it is, right? We call explanation. And Ellie try to touch almost of your main tenets here, and try to make the readers understand the nature of the Tai Chi under the main tenets of positivism viewpoint. But by the end, I don't think that is appropriate. I'm not sure. It may be good because you just look forward for the research in the future. But I think that the value neutral here, if you can apply under the nature of the Tai Chi, it might be better than just claim for the research in the future. This is my suggestion. Dr. Varuni, please.
Ellie, I think you mix up your paradigm, okay? Actually, the realism is belong to the post-positivist paradigm, not the positivist paradigm. Okay? So you mix up. If I were you, I would choose only positivist paradigm only. Because you mix up with the realism. Realism is belong to the post-positivist. As a realism believe in the falsification. Right? So you mix up so many things in your paper. So I really want you to understand more on that, okay? Because positivists talk about the verification, but then post-positivists talk about the falsifiability. It's different. See, you see the paper that you put on the page that you put critically discuss on that. And then that one, you talk about the realism, and then it's belong to the post-positivist paradigm. You get my point? Ellie, I want you to understand.
Yeah.
So you mix up between the realism and then positivism. If you want to choose positivist, just positivist in your paper. It's not the same. And the way that you put in the paper, I think it's wrong that you put that positivism, the tenet. There are 5 main tenets of the principle of positivism paradigm, including the scientism, realism, empiricism, objectivism, and verification. That is wrong. Because realism is another school of thought, different from positivism, right? Right? And then see at the paper that you cited, that is a paper that talk about positivist paradigm also. So I want you to be clear on that.
Yes. Okay.
Okay? Realism is belong to the post-positivist paradigm, not positivism.
Okay.
Okay?
Got it.
And it's about the falsification.
Yeah.
Okay, you got the point now.
Got the
So
point.
you mix up so many things in your paper.
Yeah.
Because if you talk about positivist paradigm, it cannot be falsifiable. No, right? Positivists don't believe on that. But realism just believe on that you still can make a conclusion on we cannot observe. But then for positivists, just only the thing that you can observe only, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you mix up your paper. Okay, that's why you need to be clear on that. Okay, falsifiability is belong to the the positive paradigm. Okay, you just mix up so many things here. Okay, in your paper, but that's good for you to learn. But actually, since you mix up so many things here, that make that yourself needs to be clear on that, right? And if you how you are going to explain Tai Chi related to my cognitive impairment by using only positivist paradigm in terms of the verifiability principle, in terms of objective existence, in terms of reality can be objectively determined. Just that. If I were you, I would expect only this. Okay?
Only three. Only three,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
only of this that make your paper. You don't understand that if you mix up with realism here is not correct because and you put realism under the positivism. Oh no, that's different school of thought. Okay, got the point. That's my suggestion for you. But
Thank
but
you.
I would like to say that you try to learn a lot, but then you just mix up. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Varun.
Yeah, and Dr. Hansa, I think they have learned already that, from the Eli. Actually, if Eli can really use the positivist paradigm to explain Tai Chi related to my cognitive impairment, that's gonna be good, because she tried to explain, but actually she mixed up with the revision. That's why it's, and then as this paper is not the research paper, so you mix up the research here. We want your own thinking. How you are going to explain Tai Chi related to my cognitive impairment by using positivist lens. For example, if I ask you to explain Tai Chi related to my cognitive impairment by using verifiability principle, how you are going to explain?
Because, if we want to know the effect of the Tai Chi, and we can design we can have a lot of designs, like qualitative design, and then under the design we can observe this effectiveness.
No,
and we can
not
verify.
link to, you should not link to research. You just link to by using the lens. Using the lens of the positivist paradigm on the verifiability principle to explain. Not talk about doing the research.
Oh, okay. So I
Not talking about the research. Just use only the positivist lens, right? As the framework to look at Tai Chi related to my cognitive impairment first.
Yes.
No need to link to research, no. If I ask you to explain how you are going to explain, you will look at Tai Chi related to my cognitive impairment from what? From the way that you can really look at the what?
The effect.
The thing that you can observe, right?
Yeah.
Something that you can observe, right? Something that you can verify, right? You got the point?
Yeah, I got the point. Observe to verify it. Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So Dr. Hansa, I think they got something from this, and then I think for the positivist paradigm, actually, T students have done this, and then some of them touch a little bit on that, but some of them still need to learn more about the maintenance of the positivist paradigm, But the way that they try to apply the maintenance to their phenomenon is still not clear, and because some of them still not clear about their phenomenon, and some of them still mix something, So that's my suggestion for three of them, on the positivism.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Varuni. Is there any idea from the class or unclear or what?
Dr. Hansa, I would like to.
Yes, Dr. Nongkran, please.
I would like to add more because Eli, you remember that for the maintenance of positive waste from the class, you don't mix up like this, right?
Okay.
Because I remember that you choose like observable and verification, something like that.
Yeah.
Right? And And I think that if you select or choose only the maintenance that related to positivist, as Dr. Varuni mentioned and suggestion already, it will help you to explain, especially for the application. I think that you try to explain by yourself how to apply,
Yep.
right, for the philosophical lens, but it's a lot of lens you mix up, so that I think that if you go back and you try to look at just only the maintenance of positivist and try to explain, it will help you, right? And you don't mix up with the research, because although you try to explain by yourself about application, but you also mix up with the research, because you said that you try to design like a well-designed quantitative research and double blind, right? Design something like that. It's not the way that you have to explain in this class. Okay, I think this helps you, and
Thank you.
student. ค่ะ อาจารย์
I share you.
Okay.
Yes, I share you in the chat about the falsification and verification. That might be a bit understandable. Actually, once we start with the verification, we try to get the true knowledge on that. Okay, and I do agree with Dr. Varuni that it might be better for you to just apply only 3 and left the one that not in under the paradigm, not working on that. Any questions? Is that clear on the somehow in the positivist? All right. I think that we can move to interpretive. There's a lot of students working on interpretive. And can we have a 5 minutes break? And then
Yeah.
we come back.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Thank you. All right. Lily. Lily. You are at the hotel, right? Right now?
Yes.
And I think after presentation, if you still have time, you can just observe your friend's presentation. And if you want to leave after your presentation, just fine. And have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Okay, just wait for Dr. Varuni and then we can start.
Okay.
Okay, Lily, you can start now.
Okay. Good morning, professors and my classmates. I'm Lily. My topic is informatics competencies for nurse leaders. application of interpretive paradigm. There are three contents. Firstly, I will introduce about informatics competence for nurse leaders. And we can see some definitions. Nursing informatics was a specialty that integrates nursing science, computer science, and information science to manage and communicate data, information, knowledge, and wisdom in nursing practice. And competency is defined as highly qualified status, which means having knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform a specific task, activity, or occupation, and also includes concepts of values, attitudes, critical thinking, and clinical decision-making. So nursing informatics competencies, NIC, can be defined as sufficient knowledge, skills, and abilities to perform specific informatics tasks. And as we know, nurse leaders defined as those with human and financial resource management roles have the capacity to influence the selection, implementation, use, and evaluation of technologies within healthcare settings. So nurse leaders must be fluent in leadership principles, business management, and informatics competencies. The AONE describes that nurse leaders' involvement in informatics activities is essential for the achievement of improved outcomes as a result of system implementation. However, a majority of nurses in leadership roles may not have the requisite informatics competencies, largely due to limited knowledge and a lack of clear guidelines outline digital health competency. Elevating this gap requires assessing nurse leaders' informatics knowledge and providing role-specific informatics education content. But what should the nurse leaders NIC include? There are many researchers. In the USA, the organization IMF classified within three main categories. Then these competencies were combined with roles of nursing leaders identified by the AONE and AONL to allow for a specificity for nurse leaders. Another organization, Tiger, described a framework including the basic computer skills model, information literacy model, and clinical information management model. In Canada, some researchers identified 19 indicators of NIC based on information knowledge management, professional regulatory responsibility, and information and communication technology. Then Brainleo did a study based on this and found a consensus on 24 NIC deemed important to Canadian nurse leaders. And Australia developed 10 national standards, including information literacy, computer literacy, information management, and so on. So there are many researchers on NIC for nurse leaders, most of them in the form of literature review, Delphi method, questionnaire survey, and so on. And there is not standard framework or guideline that can be universally recognized. Then I introduce my paradigm. Interpretation or hermeneutics is concerned with the generation, transmission, and acceptance of meaning within the life world, and was the original method of the human sciences stemming. I will use the two main tenets. The first one is life word. The life word is the philosophical field of and for human understanding, characterized by the action of embodied human inquirers in communication with one another and with their environment against a background of active cultural networks. Our life world reflects both our way of being in the world and the structure of meaningful relationships that we create in the world. Meaning is the instrument through which transformness makes its appearance in the life world. The second main tenet is hermeneutical circle. The hermeneutical circle describes how, in the process of understanding and interpretation, part and whole are related in a circular way. In order to understand the whole, it is necessary to understand the parts. While to understand the parts, it is necessary to have some comprehension of the whole. Following Heidegger, any inquiry is initiated by the breakdown of a task and begins by calling on the deep structure of pre-theoretical, pre-categorical understanding of being, which is found in the life world. And Heidegger argues that understanding is always and inescapably a circular process that nurtures itself from our foreign conceptions of phenomena. Every new experience and knowledge are grounded in the foreign structure. The perfect understanding is not the delimitation of the circle between the whole and the parts, but the fullest realization of the circle. Gadamer pointed out in his hermeneutic theory that understanding is the process of continuous whole to part and from part to whole again. The next part is application. As we know, the life world of nurse readers includes many elements such as colleagues, the content of daily work, the informatic environment, nurse leaders' attitude, and so on. So feeling nurse leaders' disconnection from the world, abandonment, uncertainty, and despair related to the development of nursing informatics requires more than just the motivation of nurse leaders. There are many researchers trying to get the definition to explore the life world continually being refined, replaced, or transformed by scientific serialism. In many studies on the indicator construction of NIC, nurse leaders as the investigated objects use their previous encounters and experiences, express their understanding and interpretation on this topic, and show their meanings in the life world. The appropriate philosophy approach to the method or process of interpretation is the hermeneutic circle. Hermeneutics remains as that listening to the meaning attributed by others does not require the dissolution of our own perspective, but rather it is our own horizon from which we distance ourselves that serves as a backdrop of understanding. In many studies on NIC, researchers conduct literature reviews to call on the deep structure of pre-theoretical, pre-categorical understanding of NIC for nurse leaders, such as informatics knowledge, policies, working environment, which is found in the life world. In order to understand the whole of NIC for nurse leaders, researchers can generate new ideas through interviews, surveys, and discussions with nurse leaders, nursing experts, and nursing educators, and finally form a new understanding of the whole. This hermeneutical circle of inquiry is repeated until a solution presents itself within a new cultural practice in the life world. Then I'll give a summary. NIC for nurse leaders are becoming more and more important, but many nursing leaders lack informatic knowledges and skills. And there are a lot of different studies about how to assess the NIC for nurse leaders and what should NIC include. The application of hermeneutics can better understand the life world of nurse leaders, and hermeneutics circle can help researchers connect the relationship between tradition and understanding and promote the in-depth study of NIC for nurse leaders. That's all, thank you.
All right, Lily. I think we still have enough time now. This is interpretive paradigm, and
Yes.
the way to work on interpretive is the same way as working in the positivism. You have to present a very clear phenomena with the study or the evidence base to back up your first part. So for me, you mentioned the informatics competencies for nurse leaders. You give me some definition of it, and also some of the IMF framework for the nursing informatics competencies. But I would like to see more the evidence, what it look like in each, like computer skills, informatics knowledge, informatics skills that you mentioned. I would like to see more in details. There might have many studies on that. And if you can lay out all of this, it might be easy for me to understand what really mean by this phenomena. Okay. And also you have some of the details in each part. Some part I don't think it necessary for this paper, because I would like to see what it is, what it look like, what the definitions to back it up, what the components, what the factors related, what the impact, what the consequences. That's all I need for this paper, because I want to see what is it like, what it looks like, something like that. So the first part is just some clear, but not quite clear for me. For the paradigm, you choose the interpretive paradigm, in particular the hermeneutics, and you present the life world. Yes, life world is one. That's very important. However, I would like to see more in details about the details of this tenets. Okay, what the life world really means, and what being in the world means. You mentioned being there, in being, there's a lot of details on that. It may be better if you define and clarify that this all to be very clear. And then you're talking about the library has a furniture. There's a term furniture here, yes. So you might need to touch on that. That's more tedious than you present, but it's just okay if you want to present the library, but you have to be very clear on that. Okay, what really mean? And be careful. You mentioned like the ontic beings. Okay, ontic beings on page number 5. What it is? If you present some term, you have to be very clear on that. Okay, ontic beings, and also you touch on the meanings of the instrument here as the live world. I think that's need a bit details on each. Again, hermeneutic circle. Actually, even Heidegger present this concept in his era, but this concept much more working on the methodology, because it's present like the preliminary understanding, whole to part, part to whole. So when you write on the hermeneutic circle, you still have the Dasein again. See, so why don't you just working on like a library and give more details on that to be very clear. And then you use the Gadamer. Okay? Gadamer, Leonard, all of this is on a quantitative book, but they have some literature on that in the philosophy, but you have to be very clear. Okay, so if I were you, I'm going to use only the library to be applied in the application part. In the application part, because you have like a hermeneutic circle as the main tenet, and it just lead to the methodology. So for the application, it seemed to me like you are looking for the phenomena, not just explain the phenomena. You see that? You're looking for it, how to get to know this phenomena and this inquiry, how you understand the whole picture of this. So it's much more application on hermeneutics under the term of methodology rather than philosophy. Okay, that's my comment. Yeah. Any Ajahn, Dr. Varuni? Yes.
Lily,
Yes.
I think for your life, if I were you, I would choose, the philosopher. If you want to base on Husserl, or you want to base on Heidegger, just that. Or if you want to base on Gadamer, because 3 of them explain life differently. Okay, so if you want to do the good paper, you choose only one philosopher and explain clearly on what is it. What is life by Husserl? What is life by Heidegger? Or what is life by Gadamer? And hermeneutic circle is a methodology. Mostly methodology I would not put in the paper. Okay. And about your application, you just explain application from using the articles that they use hermeneutic perspective in the study. Is not your own understanding. So that's the point, the same as the previous students. Okay, we need to evaluate your own understanding, how you are going to explain the nursing informative competencies among nurse leaders by using the live work. If you want to explain live work, how you are going to use live work to explain that. Okay, since you didn't explain live work clearly, so the point is that you could not really explain, your phenomenon by using the live work here. That's the point. Okay. And then the reference, you just use the research paper mostly on that. Okay, it's about the hermeneutic methodology. Okay, so this class is about philosophy. It's not about methodology. Okay, Lily, that's my suggestion for you.
Okay, thank you. So if I just just choice one planet, just choice life world. It's enough for
Life world can be linked to being in the world, right?
yeah.
So as I think I remember that I've been told, I told the student that they choose at least 2 maintenance, right? Because if one, I think life will only one. Dr. Hansa, for me, I think might not be enough for the student. Maybe they should choose only about two maintenance. Okay, and I have seen students already have that, at least 2, right? It's better. So you have to explain how you are putting the life world with the being in the world. Actually, it can link together, right? And even for Daisy, something like that. So, but you mix up to the methodology, that's a problem. Okay. So this is a philosophy class. Okay.
Okay.
You got the point. So we want your own explanation, how they are going to explain. How you are going to explain nursing informatics competencies among nurse leaders by using the lens of, you want to choose Heidegger or Husserl or Gadamer. That's the one that you have to choose, right? Because three of them explain life differently. Okay, that's my suggestion. Then Dr. Hansa, I would suggest the same thing, that if all the students finish interpretive, all of them, 7 of them finish, then we may connect a conclusion the same as positivist paradigm. How about that?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay.
In the afternoon,
then-
because I think
Yeah, in
that
afternoon.
Lily, you can learn from that later on. But you can leave if you want to leave now. She has to go to the airport. Have a safe trip, Lily.
I have time now.
I think she
No,
have time.
I
She
want-
can leave at 11.
I want to learn more.
That's good.
Okay.
It's up to you. Okay, you can leave at any time.
Okay. Thank
Next
you.
presenter, please, is right now is Linda, right? Linda on the compliance to treatment in diabetic patients.
Can you hear or see clear?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good morning, Jess and classmates. I'm Lina. The topic is a compliance to treatment in diabetic patients. I will present from 3 parts. The first is the introduction of phenomena. Why I select the phenomena, what's the significance of it? There are some reasons. First, diabetes has been a major public health problem worldwide. You can see this number. This is a huge number. It means that 1 in 11 people have diabetes. Diabetes have a lot of complications such as stroke, blindness, heart attack, and so on. This complication increase diabetes, reduce life expectancy, and increase health costs in many societies. This is the first reason. The second is the efficiency of treatment for diabetes is very important in glycemic control and complication prevention, because even the best treatment elements could be realized without the complications to the treatment. However, the adherence to the treatment is low. According with the report that 1 in 3 patients did not take the prescribed medicine. So it is very crucial to explore the patients of factors of complications to treatment in diabetic patients for improve the adherence to it. How can nurse get the accurate reasons? Humanetics is a good paradigm to do it. The meaning of hermeneutics has evolved over time from religion interpretation to philosophical study of interpretation. In our account of tenets, we focus those on philosophical hermeneutics. So I introduce 5 tenets. The first is being the word. Heidegger set up a set of interrelated concepts to explain the meaning of the being in the word. The first is temporality. Temporality is related time, the past, the present, and the future. The second is care. Care is a measurement shapes the world and human. The second is closeness and aestheticity. The last is the end of possibilities. This is the first. The second is the life word. The life word is awful for human understanding with their environment and human understanding historic with the practical reality of the everything word in being or doing. Life word have 3 fundamental. The first is spatiality. Yeah, that means lived space. The second is meaning. Everything in the life word is specific meaning. The third is unarticulate knowledge. A lot of knowledge we take for granted, but this knowledge is very useful. The third tenet is for structure for understanding, including 3 parts. For having, it means interpret the giving being. For such, with regard to for having, for a conception is apply certain concept. Yeah, and the fourth is fusing our horizon. Fusing our horizon. Look at the right circle. At the beginning, the text interpreter has their own horizon. So through the communicative circle, the interpreter move or change position. This is they reach the fusing of horizon, and the pre-understanding become understanding. So the last is a hermeneutical circle. Hermeneutical circle means we understand your interpretation, use the back and forth, specific, general, specific movement, till graduate and more integrate and comprehensive account of the specific element and as well as the text as a whole emerges. So these are 5 main tenets. I apply this interpretive practice paradigm to complaints. Complaints has been described as a degree in which the patient's voluntary behavior corresponds with the clinical directive of health professional. I will introduce from two dimensions, the patient's dimension and the roles of nurse. The diabetes patients being involved in diabetes is being thrown in the world in a particular way. They cannot control this situation because of our disease. The patient will or maybe have to change their already played trajectory. For heading girl, being in the world and life world, different patients have various reasons for non-adherence to treatment, such as no enough knowledge, or some patients forgetfulness and misunderstanding between the side effect and complication. And some patients they can complex the treatment. They have strong efficacy, but the others they didn't adhere the recommendation. They without efficacy. This is the patient dimension. The nurse, as a nurse, we have to explore the correct specific reasons for patients' non-adherence or treatment. The nurse should consider the patient as a being who deserves attention, respect, and comfort to care. Nurses have full structure of understanding. They know factors related to the diabetes complications, such as anxiety and depression is a negative factor, while family and friend support has positive ones. So let me say, at the beginning, nurses have their own horizon, which is a pre-understanding based on full structure. Then, nurses communicate with patients, such as interview. In the process, they apply the hermeneutical circle to analyze the horizon of the patient. So the nurse's horizon has moved to align with the patient's perception. The pre-understanding become understanding. Yeah, this is three content. The last is a summary. It is difficult but crucial to explore the factor of complex to treatment in diabetes patients. Interpretive paradigm is useful to understanding because this paradigm is focused on understanding. Nurses can apply the interpretive paradigm to get the accurate lessons and provide the evidence for advised treatment. That's all. Thank you for your attention. Thank you.
Okay, Lina.
Yeah.
Is there any comments from classmates? No? You're quiet today, huh? Actually, Lina, compliance to treatment in diabetic patients. I just try to understand because I'm not a medical nurse, and it's not seem to be clear for me because you just have only one, like say 1.5 pages on that. So this part have like you know the evaluation criteria, right? We have to have evaluate on the phenomenon that present as well. So from here, I still have a question. What is compliance to treatment in diabetic patients? What's the real definitions? What the statistic? What's the problems? What the components? What the causes? And what factors related increasing the consequences? Because I cannot see the picture of this phenomena to be clear. So this is not clear at all. Anyway, you focus on the main tenets that are unbelievable. You have a lot of pages on the main tenets. See, from this one, you touch so many main tenets. But some is not just fit for this one because it's the tenet is like not like a philosophical part, is methodology. You have being in the world here, okay? And I know that you're focusing with the Heidegger viewpoint. As Dr. Varuni mentioned, for the first presenter on interpretive, you have to reconsider which one you're going to choose. Husserl, Heidegger, Husserl, or Gadamer. And I can see from your reference, you reference the Heidegger one. And you try to explain a lot here. Okay, but different reference, like in Hoffman, in Giffin. So if I were you, I could choose one that very important with the Heidegger. I will not gonna link with anyone that not seem relevant to explain your phenomena of interest. You talk about the trueness, okay? Facticity, what does mean? And also authenticity. In authenticity, be careful about your writing. There's a lot of details writing here, reference and blah blah blah, and also you reference Creswell or Crowell, I'm not sure. There's a lot of misspelling. You have to be very careful on that. It's an academic paper. You have Leiber here, okay? We already discussed on the Leiber and also being there, being in the world. I need to have the details on that a little bit. And then you have like some part that I think it's not quite relevant here. This methodology like fills the horizon, and also again the hermeneutic circle here. And be careful because this one you have to pick one thought, okay? Not a cookbook that bring every ideas together. Otherwise, gonna be confused. Because philosophical move like chronologically, right? From year by year. So if you pick one, each one you have to pick on another that one, a whole process of your work. But when you apply, because the first part is unclear and the second part has so many things, when you apply, it seems to me that you not apply very clear on that. Actually, you explain some tenets in the second part is just okay for me, just some. But when you apply, you not touch. And I confused about the patient's phenomena or the nursing phenomena. You have nurse role here, and you try to apply nurse and nurse to understand the patient. Your phenomena is not nursing role, okay? Your phenomena is about compliance to treatment in diabetic patients. You have phenomena in patients, not in nurses, right? That make me confused by the end when you apply and you try to link with nurse and patient and nurse and patient because the phenomena is unclear. So if I were you, I'm going to just select some that very important, add more phenomena in the patient side, and then apply only on the explanation on the patient's compliance to treatment. That's all. Chan Varuni, please.
Okay, Lina.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Dr. Hamza that your phenomenon is unclear to me. I really could not understand your phenomenon interest, okay, about the compliance treatment in diabetic patients. And for the maintenance, also. If you want to explain life work and being in the world, then you have to explain clearly here. It's not seem to be clear here because you just try to explain, but then I think maybe you just use some reference, you know, and put together and mix together, you know, in your paper. That's a problem. Okay, that's a problem with you. We can see on the application that you use the previous studies that they use hermeneutics in the study of compliance. So that's a problem. Okay, we want your own explanation that how you apply, for example, how you apply life work in explain compliance to treatment in diabetic patients. Okay, that's what the aim for the paper. Okay, Lina, that's just only my comments to you because I have had to read your paper, you know, on the application, but then, you know, you try to put it, but I think since you didn't quite clear about your maintenance about the life work, you could not explain life work, you know, clearly, then you could not really apply life work to explain this. And then I agree with Dr. Hansa that if you talk about compliance to treatment in diabetic patients, so you want to look at from the perspective of the patients only, not from the nurse, right? Not from the nurse. Okay. Okay, that's all, Dr. Hansa.
Thank you very much, Dr. Baruni. Is there any comment from other Ajahn and students? All right, so far so good. We're gonna move to Judy, okay?
Okay.
Judy, family caregiving of dementia patients in China. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I will share my screen. Can you see it and hear me clearly?
Yes, Judy, okay.
Okay, good morning, Ajahn and my classmates. My topic is interpretive paradigm, offer a way of family caregiving of dementia patients in China. There are 3 objectives and 3 contents. Let's look at the details. The first one is the trend of the issue. As we all know, dementia is a progressive, fatal, and irreversible disease. So dementia is recognized as a public health priority because an estimated 15 million people are living with dementia worldwide. And however, China has the largest number of the dementia patients in the world. There are more than 9.5 million in China. Nearly 20% of the total number of people with the dementia worldwide in 2015. And although there are many research, maybe at home and abroad, but there is no effective treatment for dementia patients. So make the nursing and caring is more important. And almost of the people with dementia in China are cared for by their family caregivers, by the informal caregivers. But there are few dementia support services provided. So it can make the care for the people with dementia at home is very challenging. After the long care time, family caregivers have a certain feeling of caring for the patients, such as the burden, stress, depression, anxiety, sleep problems, and so on. So also this can increase the risk of the end of bad care, which is not conducive to the recovery of patient's disease and needs social support. About my topic, we have a past which incorporates cultural understandings of what it is the situation of family caregiving of dementia patients in China. So we will analyze this situation, which are components of our leftward of hermeneutical interpretation. This is the first content. Next content is about the maintenance of hermeneutics. As we all know, there are many maintenance of hermeneutics, but I choose this 3 tenets of for my topic. As we all know, the meaning of hermeneutics has evolved over time as understanding have grown and changed. These are the 2 definitions from 2 philosophers. One is Heidegger and the other is Gadamer. These are the 3 maintenance I choose for my topic: being in the world, fusion of horizons, and the dialogue. The first one is being in the world. Self and world are not 2 beings like subject and object, or like I and you, but self and world are the basic determination of the essence itself in the unity of the structure of being in the world. We are dependent upon one another, and being in the world means being with one another. The next maintenance is fusion of the horizons. Gadamer believed that understanding comes from both past and present. We bring to each encounter our back understanding. Gadamer referred to this background understanding as horizons. In hermeneutics, there are 2 kinds of perspectives. One is the horizon of the text, and the other is the horizon of the interpreter. The process of horizon fusion is the past understanding merged with the new understanding to produce present understanding. Second maintenance is dialogue. The dialogue is the Gadamer's contribution, like sets him apart from his mentor Heidegger, is his exploration of dialogue and conversation as an inherently human mode of understanding. Gadamer viewing their horizons of understanding participants in a dialogue review the topic to be different, more expensive, more thoroughly uncovered like either participant might have previously understood the topic to be. And he showed that conversation holds the possibility to transform productively not only the understanding of the topic, but also the very being of the participants in the dialogue. These are the 3 maintenance. And how to use in my topic. Let's look at the detail. First, the application of the interpretive paradigm in the issue. Application is one of the most central concepts in Gadamer's hermeneutical philosophy. Heidegger emphasized that every interpretation which is to contribute some understanding must already have understood what is to be interpreted. For understanding, just as Linda has mentioned, for having for sets and for concept are the precondition of the interpretation. Now, let's look at the application in the maintenance for my topic. The first one is application of being in the world. To knowing and searching the family caregiving of dementia patients in China can become an investigation as a seeking, questioning needs prior guidance from what it seeks. The meaning of being must there already be available to us in a certain way, like from maybe understanding of the caregiver's life style and learning from the available papers. We terminated like we are always already involved in an understanding of being in the world. So when we are reading the transcript, we are trying to find interesting bits, comments that the concept of dementia, the mobility and the severity of dementia in China, the significance and the challenging of nursing in China, and the care feelings about the caregivers, such as the burden, stress, depression, anxiety, sleep problem, So these refer to and might be relevant as to how the participant understood an issue in relation to our general understanding of the concept of understanding. This is the application of the being in the world. Next is the application of fusion of horizons. The fusion of horizons occurs both with individuals and between the individuals. So when nurses want to invest the care feelings of the family caregivers of the dementia patients in China, they can do both quantitative and qualitative research to listen to and interpret caregivers' stories of caring the patients so as to collect the data to know the current situation based on the horizons of fusion. The second application is about the dialogue. The dialogue occurs between the text and the interpreters. As to our topic, as to my topic, the interpreter or reader reads the text. Maybe we ask, what is going on family caregiving of dementia patients in China? And what is the family caregiver's life telling us? What is its underlying meaning? And the whole list and context of understanding general and rational, let the text make good sense. Understanding occurs when the interpreter surrenders to the movement of question and answer between the text and the interpreter. Before summary, I think at least the maintenance of the maintenance of hermeneutics, they have the intersection of between them. For example, of my topic, caregivers are a kind of being in the world. Now, from our pre-understanding, we know they are suffering from burdens and stress and other care feelings. Then we do some research, maybe do some questionnaire or interviews through the horizon fusion and the dialogue. We can know the reasons and to take measures to support them. So in summary, to understand the text is not just to know what it means, rather it is to grasp how it would apply today and in one's own personal life and understanding. That's my presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you for all of you.
All right, Judy. We already have 2 students present. What have you learned from them?
You mean what have I learned from Lily and Linda?
And apply to the paper. Critique your paper.
I think from
The first part first.
First part.
Let me critique on this one. Okay, for next student, I will let you to critique your paper because I think I am going to say the same thing. Anyway, you are talking about the family caregiving of dementia patients, right?
Yeah.
When I take a look at your paper, I have a question. What is family caregiving? What really means by family caregiving of dementia patients? What's problem with these family caregivers? Okay, what components related to family caregivings? Okay, what the impacts of the family caregivings of dementia patients? And I would like to see some statistic and evidence base to back up this explanation. We call this phenomena. Okay, so for your phenomena, you touch some of the dementia, you touch some of the dementia in China, but you not answer my questions yet. Because when we try to look at the phenomena, we have to understand and have the answer for all of them that I already mentioned to you. Okay. So for me, this part is a lot of information, but it's quite not relevant. You mentioned some of caregiver burden. All right. You have caregiver burden here, and you also have like the family characteristics as the role stains, caregiver physical, mental health, and intra-psychic state. So all of this, I would like to see in details, but not others. Okay. So
Okay.
this part is has not enough information. And what is family caregiving? Why is important? What factor cause for burden consequences is unclear for me yet.
Okay.
For the main tenets, once again, we already addressed to other two students that you might to stick with the philosopher, because the hermeneutic movement is been moving for so long.
Yeah.
So there's a movement you learn from a philosophical movement, right? There's some philosophers have the same ideas in a big picture, but they're different in details.
Yeah.
So for each particular main tenet, it might be different.
Yeah.
You have Heidegger. It seems to be that you choose Heidegger, and then you come with Gadamer, right? There's a Gadamer here. Even in the main tenets of being in the world, you have the Heidegger. I need more details on being in the world as like other students, and also fusion of horizon and hermeneutic circle. That's methodology. It's difficult to apply in terms of philosophy here. And also it's mentioned about the dialogue and other part, and even have the diagram here. I think it's not necessary. So that makes it difficult for application by the end.
Yeah.
Right? That makes it difficult by the end. And you look at the phenomena in terms of try to look at it, not explain it. That's the point. Okay. That's all. Chan Varuni ka?
Judy, I think the same as the previous comments to other students. Your phenomenology seem not to be clear to me. That Dr. Hansan mentioned and about maintenance. I think you need more clear explanation about being in the world.
Okay.
Okay. If you want to choose, you have to be clear what is being in the world. And then about the dialogue and horizon. Fusion horizon is belong to methodology, and I could see that in your application you focus on this methodology, because for the reference that you back up is the studies that they used hermeneutic as a methodology. So we want your own understanding that how you are going to explain family caregiving of dementia patients by using the lens of the, if you want to choose Heidegger, from the Heidegger lens about being the world or something like that. Okay. So I believe that you got the point, right?
Yeah.
That you mentioned a lot about the research. It's not this paper is not about the research. It's about that we want your own thinking.
Okay.
Want your own thinking that you can understand being the world clearly. How you are going to use being in the world to explain the meaning of being family caregivers of dementia patients. Okay, so I stop from now.
All right. You get the
Yeah.
point? Yeah. Yes. Next gonna be interpretive paradigm again on it's just for, we have number 7, summer. Caregivers experience of colorectal cancer patients. Go ahead, please.
Okay, good morning, dear Jia and our classmates. Can you see my screen and then is my voice clear?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I will begin my presentation. The topic of my presentation is the caregiver's experience of colorectal cancer patient interpretive paradigm. My presentation will divide it into 3 parts. The first part is the background of the phenomena. The colorectal cancer is a major cause of cancer occurrence and mortality. And from these 2 pictures, we can see that this demonstrates a steadily increased trend in both CS incidence and mortality over the past 3 decades, with projections calling for a future increase in the near future. The cancer and cancer treatment affect both the patient and their family members and caregivers. Carrying roles and responsibilities start when cancer is diagnosed. However, most of the cancer caregivers are not prepared for their caregiving role. The cancer patient care has both positive and negative impacts on the caregivers. The experience is subjective. It gives meaning to each individual's perception of a particular phenomenon and how that individual consciously reacts to it. For both a philosophical and methodological perspective, hermeneutics plays a significant role in nursing science. Hermeneutics give us a way not only to understand the experience of others, but also to interpret what which one express the experience of. The second part is the maintenance of the hermeneutics. I will explain this. The first 3 maintenance. The first is the being and being in the world. As one of the most important philosophers of the 20th century, Heidegger gave hermeneutics its proper place in philosophy. He formulated the concept of Dasein, which means being. Heidegger emphasized the ontology of being as opposed to the epistemological question of knowing. As human beings, our meaning is co-developed through being born human and through our life experience and background. A person, a being in the world, cannot be separated from the world. And the next maintenance is the prejudice. One of the core features of the philosophical hermeneutics is the notion of pre-understandings, preconceptions, or false structures. Gadamer considered it as prejudices. In order to ask a research question, we must already have some understanding of what is thought of. We have pre-understandings or false structures of understanding. It is essential to interpretation. Gadamer maintains that it is impossible to lose one's pre-understandings. It's only through our prejudices that we can begin to understand the life world of others. There would be no understanding without having first understood. The fusion of horizons means that the horizon of the present is continually in the process of being formed because we continually have to test all our prejudices. It's a key term with Gadamer associated with understanding and which occurs when the horizon of another person or text intersects with our own horizon, changing and extending our construction of understanding. For Gadamer, hermeneutical understanding is also the result of fusion horizons between the past and our present, which includes attention to the prejudices individuals bring to the interpretive event. The understanding will appear through the fusion of the horizons of the participant and the researcher. However, as the horizon of the present is in continuous development, understanding of the participant and the researcher will merge into a new understanding. During the researcher should attempt to understand how personal feelings and experience affect research, and then integrate this understanding into the study. And the last part is an application of a hermeneutics paradigm. The interpretive paradigm emphasizes understanding of the meaning individuals ascribe to their actions and reactions of others. In this paradigm, intersubjectivity between researcher and the research participant is forced and valued. And the first is the application of being in the world. In this phenomenon is the meaning of being a caregiver. Nursing as a science deals with meanings that persons attach to their lives. Meanings are usually linked to health and disease. The core of people's response to disease is based on the personal meaning of the life event surrounding the illness. The meaning may be determined by the characteristics of the illness itself, but more often, illness meanings incorporate and are steeped in the web of beliefs, norms, and interests that make up the day-to-day world of the person. The meaning which people give the pattern of their interrelationships with the environment determines the meaning and the values of health lived experience of health. When cancer is diagnosed, the caregiver being experienced the concreteness of being cast into the world of disease. So the peculiarities inherent in its disease phase arose in different modes of disposition. The experience of illness varies depending on the stage of the illness. During the initial cancer diagnosis, the caregivers describe it as their world being turned upside down. The caregiver is being in shock, being in denial, being in panic, and being fearful. They have a hard time dealing with emotional devastation. When knowing that a caregiving job is laborious, they feel helpless, overwhelmed, inadequate, and uncertain about the future. By understanding this meaning, the reasons underlying people's response, crying out depression, become clear. The meaning of illness is unique to the caregiver. Illness can have various meanings with a specific context. In addition, the illness in part becomes a human experience only as it is communicated and as a consequence is bound to the media of language and signification. Through text analysis, these accounts can be objectified and their subsequent interpretation can lead to understanding and explanation of the world of the person. The hermeneutics give contextual meaning to the experience that the caregivers express. It puts into perspective their social historical world and provides the researcher meaningful dimension. And the second part is application of pre-understanding. The pre-understanding of the phenomenon. In order to ask a research question, we should already have some pre-understanding of the phenomenon of interest. The implication of prejudice are that the researcher would not try to achieve pure objectivity, nor blanket the nature standpoint. Rather, the researcher would use his or her or his prejudgments made up of pre-understandings and for meanings of being a researcher in order to come to a preliminary understanding of the other as revealed in the text of narratives. This initial understanding represents the initial horizons of understanding in which the interpretation takes place. This horizon is expanded as the researcher examine again the initial interpretation, with prejudice in exam the remaining open to the possible alternative meanings of the other. The research further expands the horizon of understanding. In this research, the historical horizon of the past is the personal and professional background of the researcher, combined with the literature relating to the experience of caregivers living with cancer patients and the care burden of the caregivers. In summary, the hermeneutics method will offer a different understanding about the phenomenon. Through this approach, the experience associated with caregiver is not only discovered, but is maintained with the context in which it is generated. That's all my presentation, and thank you for your attention.
Okay. Summer. What would you what would you critique on your first part of your paper?
And for the first part of my my paper, I think I should add in more information about what is caregiver and what problems of the caregiver and what the cancer impacts of the cancer caregiver. I say I should add more information about this.
Correct. Okay. We need to understand more on the particular phenomena like caregiver's experience. And you have add some, right? You add some, I see you add some in very last part of your work. You add some kind of literature there, but we have to put, you have to put in the background rather than on that part, okay? And
Yeah.
also the main tenets here. The main tenets, okay, what have you learned?
The maintenance I learned from a previous presentation. I think I should focus on the maintenance of the maybe one philosophy. It may be much more better. So it gave us a more clearly direction to how to apply this maintenance. We may don't get confused about so many philosophers.
Right, that's one. And also you have to give more details on the maintenance, the chosen one that you used, like being in the world. You have to be more details on that, right? And also other terms like prejudice. Prejudice here is very interesting, but it's under the Gadamer, so it might be linked with the methodology rather than the philosophy. Fusion of horizons, again, hermeneutic circle. Consider about that as the main tenets. Okay. And also you mentioned you apply the hermeneutic paradigm. Don't need to mention about the Kuhn here, right? Kuhn 1970 is talking about paradigm. You have to have your space, okay? When you write on the paper, you have to hit to the point. Otherwise, you're gonna have a lot of water. Remember, no water, not many water. We need meat in your paper. And then when you choose Heidegger, you link with the meaning, right? The meaning of being a caregiver. This seem to me like the result from the research study here. And the way that you try to put is not the application, but you try to show like what's really mean by being caregiver, not apply it. And also you mentioned on pre-understanding of the phenomenon and also hermeneutic circle. This is the way you make a summary, you see, as method. You make a summary as hermeneutic, as method. So it's not philosophy. It's a methodology that you work on this paper. So be careful that we are looking at philosophical viewpoint, not methodology. That's all ค่ะ
Yes, my quick comment to Summer is that you have cited many references that are not relevant to the caregiving for colorectal cancer. It may be many kind of cancer, lung cancer, or many kind of cancers, not good for you. Okay, in the future we are going to do your paper. Just only choose the articles that relevant to your topic. Is about caring for colorectal cancer patients, not something else. Not going to be lung cancer, because lung cancer and colorectal cancer, they have different aspects, right? Caring for lung cancer and caring for colorectal cancer patients are different. So you cited to the reference and your application, you use previous studies that use interpretive methodology to explore the study. So that's not the aim for the paper. This paper is that we want your own understanding, how you are going to explain caring for colorectal cancer patients from using the lens of maybe of Heidegger on being in the world, something like that, right? Get the point?
Yeah.
Summer. Okay, I done it. Summer.
Thank
Okay.
you, Ajahn.
Yeah.
Okay, so you learned a lot. Next gonna be Lacy, right? Lacy
Yes.
on family support for exclusive breastfeeding practice among first child mothers. Go ahead, please.
Okay. Good morning, Ada and the classmates. If you can't hear my voice or see the screen, please tell me and let me continue. My phenomenon of interest is family support for exclusive breastfeeding practice among first-time mothers using interpretive paradigm. And there are three contents: background and maintenance and application. For the introduction or background and significance. As we all know, breastfeeding is one of the most effective ways to ensure child health and survival. And exclusive breastfeeding for the first 6 months of an infant's life is recommended by the WHO for its substantial health benefits to both the infant and mother. Here, exclusive breastfeeding means only breast milk, no water-based liquids, and milk-based liquids or food, excluding medicines, vitamins, and oral rehydration solution. And despite all these potential benefits, only 44% of infants 1 to 5 months of the age worldwide exclusive breastfed. Here is some data. And for many of countries, it's not reached the standard of WHO. And so we found some data in China, EBF rates, and is also between 1.5% and 0.5% and 33.45% in 7 cities in the last decade. Also, a series of initiatives and interventions have been taken, and some initiation and duration of any breastfeeding have improved. But the rate of exclusive breastfeeding is not reach the 50%. This is the standard from the WHO. So for this reason, again, what's important is paid maternity leave has been increased from 90 days to 120 to 180 days in recent years in China. ideally, it becomes more available for mothers to breastfeed their babies in the first 6 months than before, because they have less financial burden and more time. But why the rate of EBF at 6 months are still unsatisfactory? Why it is difficult for first mothers to adhere to EBF? Identifying determinants of new mothers' exclusive breastfeeding practice from some more aspects must be put into the agenda. We can see from some previous study, the family members, particularly women's partners and infant grandmother, play an influential role in women's decision to choose breastfeeding. And also, from a nurse's perspective, we should shift our vision from mother-focused breastfeeding education to family-involved encouragement or education. Chinese family-oriented and family members play a significant role in the decision of breastfeeding, especially some significant others. From the literature review, there is no qualitative research focused on this issue in China, so it's necessary to fill the gap of this knowledge. For the maintenance of this paradigm, just as other students have mentioned, we have some common ideas about this. This paradigm emphasizes understanding of the meaning individuals ascribe to their actions and the reactions of others. So seeking understanding, shared meaning, and embedded meaning, which is constructed in the researcher and the participated interaction, is the focus of this paradigm. There are many maintenance of this paradigm and many philosophy like Deleuze, Husserl, Heidegger, and Gadamer. But maybe I also make some things wrong to prepare for this part, and I also use different philosophies idea to choose for my maintenance. And the first one is understanding. For Deleuze, when referring to understanding, the very purpose of hermeneutics is to understand and interpret the experience of another. And the aim of Deleuze was to address that which we do not know, a way to be able to know others' experience. And also, he also admits that there are some, it's our inherent inability to fully to understand, because we can never truly walk in others' shoes. But they also argue that this process is also indeed highly informative. And understanding requires emotional intelligence, sensitivity, wisdom, collective life experience, and the ability to self-reflect, to let us know which is beyond our own reality and life experience. So this is the first maintenance of understanding. But for second one, I use the Heidegger's being in the world. It's also the meaning of understood as embeddedness and inseparability from the world. To Heidegger's view, to be human is to be in the world, to participate in culture, social, and historical content. And the person is self-interpreting. So social practice and perception are already laden with interpretation. Maybe during our reading the philosophy paper, we just think every philosopher has his strong point for some maintenance. So we use what we think is okay for our report. And the third one is the fusion of horizon. Is also maybe the methodology. I only use it as maintenance. It's about Gadamer, so maybe I don't want to share more. Understanding or is always a fusion of this horizon. The support view is also from the Gadamer. But in this part, Gadamer, what's important is the Gadamer said that when we doing a conversation with our participants, we should stay aware of our own bias and constantly question the validity of our full understanding. So application of my phenomena using interpretive paradigm, the first one is acquiring deep meaning of family EBF supporting experience through understanding. And we should find what attitude family members hold toward EBF, how they support their wives or daughters-in-law to conduct this practice, and what happened when they support or discourage EBF during the first 6 months of the infant's life. Despite fully interpreting participants' lived experience, it is still a difficult thing, but we can discover some new knowledge and multi-faced truths or meanings of family support for EBF rather than only finding from empirical measurement in this area. And here is some literature review. Find partners and grandmothers also hold some different opinions about this. Based on the concept of phenomenology, in this paradigm, my research involved different methods to gain in-depth and detailed description, understanding, and explanation of this experience in China. And the second application point is regarding participants as human of being in the world. Family members, we should know what family members care about or value during their experience of EBF support is influenced by their social and cultural context. So we should from their real context to find some deep knowledge and meaning from their views. Some literature reviews showed that some partners feel breastfeeding is solely the responsibility of women. It reflects the religious and traditional gender role, and some others or even pressured their breastfeeding partner to continue despite they don't want to do this. And our aim is to understand the meaning participants had with regard to their existence, because we don't know what is being hypothesized and what we are apt to find in this process in Chinese culture settings. And the third one is using this circle, hermeneutic circle, to conduct our fusion of horizon for this phenomenon. Maybe it's also about the methodology. But I think it's this can better our understanding between researcher and participants and help me to get a deep understanding, deep meaning from the data and text in the interview. So I just think it's important, but maybe not suitable for this class report. And for my presentation, I just think through the importance of this phenomena, low rate of EBF globally, especially in China, and the factors from the family members' lens to help me understand more using interpretive paradigm and find a deeper meaning in this area and get some new knowledge for this area. That's all for my presentation. Thank you.
All right, Lacey. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I think it's a good way for you to try to explain why it's significant to have this topic, but it's not just fit for this class yet, because this class we need to know what is the topic, right? You lay out a lot of things that it seems to be very good. If it is a proposal, we call this the significance and background, but not for this paper. This paper, I would like you to focus on family support for exclusive breastfeeding practice among first-time mothers. Hit to the point. What's going on in a very brief introduction, and then you have to talking about like a EBF, right? EBF practice is important, in particular among first-time mothers, and how family support been important. And I would like to know the definition of family support that it's been using in this paper. What the components of family support? What's the problem? What the antecedents, consequence, and what's going on under the evidence-based backup that we need. We call this phenomena, because you can use this to explain in the third part, right? You don't need to lay out a lot of significance here. It's good, but it's not fit. I have a very intensive review for this, but we need on particular on that explanation in the phenomena. And for the main tenets, I see that you know that which one is not fit, which one is fit already, right? You have to lay out main tenets and come up with so many philosopher name: Dewey, Husserl, Heidegger, and Gadamer. And that's gonna be a lot of main tenets, because each one will have some kind of different in each. It might be better if you choose one and make it very clear on each. If you choose Heidegger, go for Heidegger and explain more in terms of being in the world, that you already focus on living, being, right? Through the activity of being there. Explain more on that. And I really like the term, the person is self-interpretation, right here. And there are more than that for the being in the world. The person is self-embedded. The person is, we talk about the present time. There's a lot of things here that you need to give more details. And also, you know already about the fusion of horizons that not fit in this paper. And for me, when you try to apply, it's a bit confused for me, because it seemed to me that you look at the family members, try to understand the first-time mother. In your paper, you say some family members had positive view of EBF. We not ask you to look at family members, how family members understand the first-time mother. That's not a point. But we are going to ask you to apply the phenomena to explain the family members' support. Okay, you see the point? Because it seemed to me that a bit confused here. Some family members had positive views of EBF. That means you try to apply family members, how they understand the first-time mother. That's the way, okay? You just try to explain family members as a family support. This is the point. Jamari, I'm done.
Yes, Lacey, I think if I were you, I think maybe need to be more focused on your phenomenon trace, because if you put too many things there, then you cannot make you cannot focus on your points. Because if you put family support for exclusive breastfeeding practice, so mean that the main point is about family support, right? But if your focus is on exclusive breastfeeding practice among first-time mothers, then your focus is about looking at the first-time mothers on themselves, okay? Because then you put together, then you have the problem to write up your paper, two things, nah? You got my point, nah? Yeah, because this is not the proposal, it's the phenomenon interest. If I were you, I would delete the family support now. Just look at the exclusive breastfeeding practice among first-time mother and really looking at in the literature, what has been known, what is the knowledge about exclusive EBF practices, because you didn't talk much about practice, you talk about EBF, not about practice. So I think practice is a term that you use there, then you have to be clear on what has been known about in terms of EBF practices among first-time mothers. What are the factors that influence the EBF practices among first-time mother? Family support can be one of that. Okay. Another thing is about I agree that for your maintenance you need more explanation on particularly on the being in the world, and then for the understanding, and then for the part on application it's the same thing. I know that you know already what's wrong with that. Okay. So if you want to focus on the EBF practices among first-time mother, then you want to use the lens, maybe from the Heidegger's on the being in the world, to explain meaning of the being the first-time mothers to provide exclusive breastfeeding for their newborn infants, something like that. Okay, you got my point, Alessi?
Okay, thank you.
Got the point, yeah? Yeah, I know that you got the point, you know already. Okay, so
Yeah.
then finish with Lacey.
Thank you, Dr. Baruti. I asked you opinion and also Ajahn too. Actually, I scheduled another one before noon, and I think that is only 10 minutes left for noon. So is your agreement to go on for snow or just move snow, start 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Your choice.
So
We have
maybe
10 minutes
let
left.
the student make the decision. You want
Yeah.
to snow, you want to go ahead with your presentation. I think maybe we should let Snow make the decision, because she's the one that you're going to present.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can in the afternoon we can begin like 1:15 or 1:20 instead of 1. Okay, Snow, you want to go now, or you want to have?
Okay, Ajahn, I can go ahead.
Oh, you go ahead. All right. So we make a deal that the afternoon class gonna start by 1:30. Okay.
Yeah, something like that. Okay.
All right, go ahead, Snow.
Okay, Ajahn.
Snow is going to be on quality of life in colorectal cancer survivors.
Yes. Okay. So now, Ajahn and dear classmates, and my topic is quality of life in colorectal cancer survivors from the perspective of interpretive paradigm. And the contents are as follows. And the first part is about the quality of life in colorectal cancer survivors. Colorectal cancer is a major cause of cancer occurrence in developed and developing countries. Advances in early detection and treatments are likely to increase the extended survival rate for persons with CRC and lead to a growing number of CRC survivors. and understanding and improving health-related quality of life in this group is becoming of great importance. Assessment of health-related quality of life in CRC survivors provides information of their experience during the survivorship and helps to explore risk factors of low HRQOL, which may support the design and choice of appropriate interventions for CRC survivors. The traditional model of HRQOL is as follows. Commonly, it is a multiple dimensional construct that assess physical, functional, psychological, social, spiritual, and sexual well-being relevant to some major chronics. And for the different to the traditional framework, the context model of HRQOL adds something more, such as healthcare system, cultural and social ecological dimensions to the HRQOL framework. And in this paper, is aimed to apply interpretive paradigm to assess HRQOL in CRC survivors with the context model. And the second part is about the main tenets of interpretive paradigm. Here I chose 3 main tenets, which are life world, meaning, and a hermeneutical cycle. Maybe the last one is not fit for today's topic, sorry. The first one, life world. Interpretive phenomena, as known as hermeneutic phenomena, originates from the work of Martin Heidegger. Martin Heidegger's term life world referred to the idea that individuals' realities are invariably influenced by the world in which they live. Within the focus on human experience and how it is lived, interpretive phenomena is interested in human beings as actors in the world, and so focuses on the relationship between an individual and his or her life world. An individual cannot step out of his or her life world. Humans cannot experience a phenomenon without referring back to his or her background understandings. Interpretive phenomenology studies individuals' narratives to understand what those individuals experience in their daily lives, in their life worlds. The researchers must be aware of the influence of the individual's background and account for the influence they exert on the individual's experience of being. And the second main tenet, meaning, interpretive phenomenon studies the meaning of an individual's being in the world as their experience is interpreted through his or her life world, and how these meanings and interpretations influence the choice that the individual make. Human understanding functions by interpretation, and its product is meaning. So meaning is a public domain where people share the products of human understandings, first by common habits of action, and then through the use of language and the language-like medium. Meaning is the domain in which people understand each other, argue with one another, give reasons, establish goals, set up norms, and define times. Meaning is the instrument through which trustfulness makes its appearance in the life world. Meaning has to be created from its transmitted sources by readers of the receiving community, and there is no guarantee that the meaning derived from this source by readers from one community will be the same as the meaning derived from the same resources by readers from a different community, separated from the first by history and cultural environment. Since through hermeneutic spectacles, the understanding of a person is not a question about making this person fit into your own prejudgment, but instead to continuously reflect upon whether your own understanding is relevant. So we get to know that in interpretive paradigm, observer is part of the world and not a bias-free. And third, maintaining hermeneutic cycle. Maybe I don't need to mention here. Okay. So let's move to the application of interpretive paradigm to explore quality of life in CRC survivors. In order to gain knowledge about the particular size of what it means to be a human being, a patient, the best way is to go into the specific human aspect, namely the life route, where people are and where they live their lives. So when I apply the interpretive paradigm to explore the quality of life of CRC survivors, first I determine what is the life route to the specific CRC survivors, and then try to search the meaning through the description by the CRC survivors, and through the way of hermeneutical cycle, the understanding of the quality of life of CRC survivors had been realized finally. And for the domain of physical well-being of CRC survivals, for most CRC survivals, the most common complaints include peripheral neuropathy, loss of appetite, and change in state. For CRC survivors who received a colostomy, complaint more on the occurrence of hernia and digestive symptoms such as diarrhea, while some CRC survivors reported urinary dysfunction, which induced by specific type of surgery. So we can see from this part, different people have different meaning to see many. So for applying, we can see many CRC survivors reported physical problems, but the meaning of physical problem is different to different CRC survivors. The interpretation for this issue was mainly from the perspective of physiological medicine. And the second domain, psychological well-being of CRC survivors. Some CRC survivors experience the negative psychological problems such as depression, anxiety because of worry about recurrence, some emotional side effects resulting from responses to the physical side effects, stress changes in relationships, confidence, and changes in identity. For CRC survivors with stoma, besides that, they suffered more fear and anxiety regarding gas, odor, incontinence, or leakage of stool or ostomal bag contents, not returning to normal after cancer, constraints on valued activities, relationships, and intimacy problems. But also, we find that some CRC survivors experienced a percentage of positive growth, which may be a reminder that coping with the disease brought family closer together and improved their relationships. So in order to better understand the meaning of the patients, healthcare professionals should be open and be receptive to what the patients try to communicate and try to recreate a situation where the message becomes meaningful, and to explain the patient statement by referring to what you believe. And for the domain of cultural well-being of CRC survivors, lived experience of CRC survival was of disparities in different cultural backgrounds. For example, on the issue of dietary change in CRC survivors, a traditional Chinese medicine rather than Western medical model of dietary drove in Chinese community. The CRC survivor Australia expressed skepticism concerning the links between eating and health and refused to change dietary habits. So looking broadly at who a person is, not just their current illness or health status. The health condition is part of the person, but the person is much more than that. Related to the social ecological well-being of CRC survivors, many CRC survivors adjust the financial burden, which include the cost of chemotherapy drugs, lack of subsidies for stoma appliance, and inadequate coverage for medical insurance. For CRC survivors who were in their working age may suffer more pressure in finance as well as employed. So understanding is equal to perceiving the other person as a person who is recognized as one's own peer. Understanding requires to see the patient as an equal person who is capable of speaking words that are true, sensible, and meaningful, and who is able to add to an understanding through the conversation that is held. And the last domain, healthcare systems for CRC survivors. Many CRC survivors complain they got limited information regarding to drug toxicity, potential out-of-pocket expenses, as well as various risks they may confront with. In most Asian countries, there is a lack of national standardized care pathway for the management of cancer, which made the access to a health care system much more difficult. So understanding is a well-being seen from a hermeneutic angle. This means that certain aspects of the world can be appreciated through experience. For my summary, in my understanding of applying interpretive paradigm to the phenomenon, the ontological assumption is that the lived experience is an interpretive process situated in an individual's life world. The epistemological assumption is that observer is part of the world and understanding phenomenon by interpretive means with no bias free. Researchers reflect on essential themes of participant experience with the phenomena while simultaneously reflection on own experience using hermeneutic circle until the meanings comes out by themselves. Finally, that's all about my presentation. Thank you so much.
All right, Snow. I think you are the last one for the morning, and your writing is very interesting to me because you focus on quality of life in colorectal cancer survivors. For the phenomena, I have two questions. What is or who is CRC survivors? Need to be very clear because survivors, I used to have my student working on this topic as a major advisor, and the survivors seem to be vary in the meaning, and the need to care and the quality of life is different in each. It depends on how you define the CRC survivors. And I would like to know in details, okay, about this one. Another point is about the quality of life. Quality of life is not the same as health-related quality of life. If you look at the literature, it's different. And because of the different meanings, it leads to the different details, the different domain, the different components, the factors related to, and so many. So if you are focusing on this phenomena, you have to be very clear. Otherwise, when you apply, it's going to be a bit confused, okay, in each domain. And even you lay out the signs, symptoms, or the need of the CRC survivors, it kind of still unclear for me. This is the first part. The second part is about the main tenets. Once again, we already discussed a lot of the term that you've been applying in terms of Heidegger's life work. You have to add more details on that. Okay, and I'm not sure about the meaning here. If you're talking about the meaning, I don't think it's the main tenets, because the meaning here is kind of the result from the methodology. When you try to approach to particular phenomena, you come with the meaning, and they can have the meaning here. See, you say that interpretive phenomenology is a methodology. Studies the meaning of an individual. This is methodology pure. See that on page 4, and I think this not the main tenet for this paper. And also when you're talking about the third hermeneutic circle, we already circle, okay, we already discussed on that. And it's interesting to me that you try to apply for domain by domain. Look at that. You apply domain by domain, and the way you apply is not the application. When I first read it, I think, oh, this is the nature of the CRC survivor. But it seemed not to me, because once you apply this way, you apply like the meaning, not just say like using the main tenets like a being there, because they have background, they have culture, so they have to come like this. But you explain ahead, okay, right away about the side symptoms. So if I were you, I will not gonna apply this way because it's not quite fit with this paper. And by the end, you say that you're talking about like the nurse should, the healthcare provider should, or better understanding the meaning. This is not the result of the research paper, but apply the main tenet to understand the phenomena. Okay, is that okay for you? Okay, Dr. Varuni, please.
Snow. Yes, no, I agree with Dr. Hansa on the phenomenon interest, that you have to be clear on that, and then you have to be clear on why, you want to study QOL or HQOL. It's different. Okay, and then I think for your maintenance part, you need to explain more on the live word there. You explain some of that, but if you can explain more, then you can understand live word that you talk about the term nature of being or temporality. Then if you understand this clearly, then you can use this to explain the quality of life in CRC survivor by using the interpretive lens. Okay, because the way that you explain is that you just try to explain each component of QOL differently, but it's not linked to the live world yet. Okay, get my point?
Yes, Madam.
Yeah, you have to link to the, if you want to use the live word and being the word to explain that, then trying to use that to explain your phenomenon interest. That's a way. And then maybe Dr. Handa is a problem with the student, that maybe they misunderstood about the application part, that they just thought that they used the previous articles, that they apply each paradigm in the phenomenon interest and then explain that as an application. That's not correct, because we in part the application, we want the student to use their own understanding on the maintenance and use the maintenance to explain the phenomenon interest, not use the previous articles as a reference, to write up the paper. That's the way. Okay, I think that most of the students, they misunderstood about this, and then they misunderstood about the paper as the research paper is not that. Okay, we want them to really, how you are going to use the philosophical lens to explain your phenomenon interest. I think we wait until Linda finish the interpretive, then we can make a summary on the interpretive Wednesday. How about that?
Yeah, we will
okay.
work on that, and take a picture, okay, a group picture when we finish the first morning presentation. 1, 2, 3. Okay, enjoy your lunch and come back by 1:30. We are going to start with the first one in the afternoon. That's Linda. Okay, Linda, 1:30, you be on stage. Okay, enjoy your lunch. And I'm going to stop recording, and I'm going to stop the Zoom too. And you can log in again. Okay, you log in again. Okay, bye bye now.
See you later.